Hi everyone. We're here today with Caroline Gowing from Pink Spaghetti. Hi Caroline.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on. Just to get straight into it, really, what I wanted to firstly understand was about Pink Spaghetti, who you are and what you offer your customers. So if you could tell us a bit about that, it'd be great.
Yeah, good to be here. So we're Pink Spaghetti PA Services, and we're a team of personal and virtual assistants, work across the UK, and we support micro and small business owners. So quite often 1 or 2 man bands. We do a variety of tasks for them, typically tasks that they don't have time for, or the knowledge to do, or the inclination to do in their busy business lives. Usually our small business customer is really good at what they do, and that's why they've gone and started their own business, but they don't want to be working out how to create reels on Instagram or find out how an email automation setup may work, or they don't want to be updating their CRM or their bookkeeping administration. So that's when we step in with a huge variety of tasks.
Brilliant, thanks, Caroline. And I've got a question at the end, which is kind of about how potentially I could do with some of that help, to be honest. So we'll save that for the end, because I'm very interested in seeing that. So so take me back then. You started Pink Spaghetti. So I just wanted to understand how did you come to conceive of this as a business model, and then the second part to that question is, what then led you to look at franchising as a way to grow the business? And before you answer those two, can we just address the Pink Spaghetti element, the name? I love the name. It's a brilliant name.
Thank you.
But it's one of those things where I'm sure you get asked, like, how on earth did that, how on earth did you come up with that? What was the idea behind that?
So I'd like to say we were brilliant marketeers and total geniuses, but it wasn't. It was complete accident. It's been one of the best things we ever did because people ask about it. So I started Pink Spaghetti with my business partner, Vicky Matthews. We met through our children, actually at swimming lessons of what became another franchise, Puddle Ducks. So we met through our very, very young children. I think they were about a year old. And when we came a few years later to start the business, we were looking at Cheshire PA services and Time for You, and none of them particularly were grabbing in a name. Often they led to, if somebody Googled it, they would lead to a competitor's website. It was fortunate because Cheshire PA Services wouldn't have been great as a franchise. So we said, right, how did we meet? Met through the girls, and at the time their favourite food was spaghetti. And we thought, well, that works because that represents our client's tangled mess. We thought, well, that's quite good. But spaghetti just sounded a little bit like an Italian restaurant. So we said, how can we make it a little bit different? And at that time, the girls were 3 and 4. Their favourite colour was pink. So, nothing to do with creating time and that sort of thing, but really memorable. And I know that all our franchisees too find it really memorable. The customers ask them, what is it? Where does it come from? So it's really open doors. This is really good.
Brilliant, Caroline. Well, no, I appreciate it because I've known of Pink Spaghetti for a long time, and this is the first time we've talked like this. But it's always one of the things I think in my head is, where did that name come from? And there's always an interesting story. Sometimes there isn't. You could have said to me, we just took 2 random words and put them together, and Pink Spaghetti with those words. I mean, that's less of an interesting story. What you've just described is brilliant. I love.
The really sad thing is that when we went and had our logo designed, it wasn't until the graphic designer had showed us our logo and had pulled out the PA in spaghetti as Pink Spaghetti PA Services. Until then, we hadn't even thought about it having a PA in it. So we've been very fortunate indeed.
Yeah, that is a stroke of fortune, that one. So okay, so Caroline, to go back then to why it started originally and why you started it, and then how that over time led to you to franchise the business.
Yeah, okay. So as I said, it was started by myself and a very good friend of mine, Vicky Matthews. And at the time we were both at crossroads career-wise. I'd come to the end of an IT contract. She had the opportunity for redundancy. We'd talked for years about starting our own business. We were both highly organised, really organised people in our home. We were always the ones with our friends that would, you know, book the holiday, research the night out, and we're both known for that. And in addition, Vicky had been a PA within banking, so we knew we had a lot to offer, and we knew we wanted to do something that was coming out of the corporate world and to give it a go. So at the very beginning, we actually offered our time-saving services to homeowners, to busy homeowners, rather than businesses. And it started slowly, but we very quickly got contacted by homeowners that were also small business owners. And actually, there's more guilt about bringing in this sort of support to a home. People think they should be able to do it all, when that's not the case. But in a small business, it's recognised that outsourcing is a good thing. And from a business point of view, there's a lot more repetitive work. So within the first year, we very quickly transitioned across and became mainly, we're about 98% small business, little tiny bit of home now. So we did that. It worked. You know, we had to learn a lot, as everybody does in their small business. We changed quite a lot, worked out how we got business, how we didn't, made all the mistakes everybody makes. And then after about 2.5 years in business, we looked at expansion and all the different ways we could expand, and really felt that franchising could be an opportunity for us. At that time, we knew very little about it. So we went to the British Franchise Exhibition, I think it was, in October 2011, down in Birmingham. And we just went and talked to everybody. We were open about what we had, talked to consultants, listened to seminars, and we came away knowing that we had a franchisable model, but feeling that it was going to be out of our reach financially. We were an incredibly small business, home-based, flexible, and we thought, yeah, this is definitely for us, but it's going to be a few years away, because it's going to cost us, the figures you hear, 30, 40, 50,000 pounds. And actually we had some good luck over the next few months. We accidentally met somebody who was a franchise solicitor, and she made us the offer of, well, market your franchise. When you sell your first franchise, that's when you can pay for your franchise agreement. And it kind of turned everything on its head. And we'd sold our first franchise within 6 months of that. And then the hard work set in, because it was us doing the training manuals, us doing all the training courses, not consultants. But that was my background previously. So we pulled together and yeah, sold our first 2 franchises.
Brilliant. So you effectively franchised your own business,
We did.
with a bit, as you say, a bit of good luck and advice from people along the way. And
yeah,
yeah, no, I think that's the best advice you could have got, actually, because it's yes, too much money is spent on setting up an infrastructure for franchising before you can even prove if you can attract people. And
absolutely.
so that solicitor, who were they, by the way, Caroline? Because that deserves a bit of a shout out.
Well, I hope she doesn't mind, because I don't know if this is a regular thing, and I don't even think she does franchising anymore, but it was Suzanne Dibble. So she's a big GDPR specialist and various different things. We've tapped into her a lot over the years. Lovely lady. But she gave us the opportunity. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have started, because it was always going to be too much for us.
Yeah, it's brilliant advice. It's what we now say, and it has turned on its head a bit. It always used to be a bit more, get everything in place and then go out. But you know, if you get everything in place, that takes time and money. And
it does. And we were always somebody that would hit deadlines. So if, you know, when we put just a newsletter out saying we're franchising, and fortunately somebody had been effectively stalking us, who had been looking at our business and wanting to replicate it. So when this email came out, she went, oh gosh, you know, this is great, and made contact. Well, at that point we didn't have, and we had a very bare prospectus. She had that. We didn't have an application form, but when she asked for an application form, you know, again, that's what we do. So within an hour we had an application form, and very quickly talked about the next stage of a process when we needed it. And when we sold the franchise, we sold it in the May. We were going to train in the September. We work a lot around school holidays, and very definitely did in those days. That gave us a few months to absolutely. We had a long summer, very hard working, and got our all our manual training courses and everything ready for training.
And was that that first franchisee, did you call them did you see them as a pilot effectively?
Yeah,
like
totally. We absolutely sold as a pilot. And in fact, our next lot of luck was that she had a friend in a different part of the country that was also looking. So the two of them were our pilots. They got the franchise at a very low price, but we were able to say, "Your pilots, we want feedback, we're learning." And I think I definitely would do that again.
Yeah,
we were able to change things because of feedback, and actually we've continued to change things non-stop for the 12 years since.
Yeah, and that was 2012. You took
so it's 2012, September 2012 is when we trained first franchisees.
Oh, brilliant. So you've had your 10-year anniversary effectively.
We have.
As a franchise, or as a bona fide franchise.
As a bona fide franchisor, yeah.
That's brilliant. And Caroline, where are you up to now in terms of your network growth over the last kind of decade, 11 years or so? How's that gone?
Yeah, it's gone well. We had the two, and then we didn't do anything for, I think we had one the following year, but we purposefully said we want to prove this. And at the same time, we took our original area, which we still ran, and wanted to really grow that, because we felt if we've got franchisees coming in, we want to not just fill our time, we want to employ in our area and show real business growth, which we have done. So we were doing both of those. We brought somebody, maybe one or two people in the following year, and they weren't right, and which was a horrible time actually, because you think, oh gosh, we thought we'd got it right, we haven't. But actually it made us look at why aren't they right, so therefore leading you down to what's your perfect franchisee and what's not. And actually, whilst it was horrible where they weren't right, we learned so much. And then our next intake was the right people, and probably our most successful. So it was September 2014 that we then brought 4 on in one go, because we had just honed what we wanted to do. And really from 2014 onwards, that's when we've sort of brought in regularly, sort of 2 or 3 times a year. So we're now up to 52 franchisees. But again, even during that time, our model has changed. We've gone from having individual VAs working at home to finding that there's so much work in a territory that just to fill somebody's hours isn't enough. You'll be turning work away, or you're not actively marketing. So now over 80% of our franchisees have teams. So we've had to include recruitment and business growth strategies and all sorts of things into the franchise model. So we've never really stood still. The model is just continuing to grow.
Well, I mean, congratulations. 52 is a brilliant number in the UK. And what's the vision for the UK then? Like, what is the potential, if you like?
So the potential, we've got about 180 territories. So the potential is just to carry on growing. Then, whether we go outside of the UK or not is a decision we've got to make. We're starting our research on that in the next 6 weeks, actually. I've got somebody lined up to talk to. I don't know whether we would do that or not, but I'll certainly do the research and find out the costs involved and the risks and the impact on our UK network before we make a decision going forward.
And one thing, there might be people listening who are interested in becoming a Pink Spaghetti owner in their area. What would you say someone needs? You say you've identified your kind of ideal franchisee profile or profiles. Give us an idea of what that person looks like.
So that person has normally had a really good corporate career, is not necessarily a VA or a PA in a previous life, because you can have so many transferable skills, and it's those transferable skills that we're looking for. It's more about attitude, tenacity, forward thinking. They're a doer, they're usually a list maker, they're the organized person, and we can teach people who our customer is and how to set up a MailChimp newsletter and all the things that clients want. But really that attitude, that sitting forward and seeing problem solving and sorting a problem for a client, that's the sort of person that we need in the network. And as such, the variety of people we've got in the network has been amazing from all sorts of backgrounds, and that has just added to our network. You know, we've got all these resources to tap into, which was not something that we'd originally thought about, but has been a real positive aspect of the business.
And I'm guessing if someone Googles pink spaghetti in the UK, you're gonna come up, right?
Yeah,
They're
we
gonna
do.
find this out.
Another good thing about the name.
That's a very good thing about the name. So, Caroline, one thing which I always find really interesting is franchising. Like, I know obviously as the business you started to look at it, but how did you see franchising before that moment, and what were your impressions of franchising before you actually started to immerse yourself in what it could deliver for you?
I have to say, I knew very little about it. Vicky was the one that first mentioned it. I think the thing we knew was the typical McDonald's, and actually it surprised me and continues to surprise me, the amount of businesses that are franchised. So yeah, we knew very little, but what we did know is that if we were to expand in different parts of the UK, for us, having a team member, an employee in a different part of the UK, if they weren't able to support that client, and a lot of the time then people wanted to meet clients or go to a client's premises to meet them, that caused huge problems for us. You know, how did we get to that part of the UK when somebody phones in sick? And we always knew that was a barrier. And as amazing as team members are, and I've got some fabulous ones, so I've got to say that, there is nothing like a business owner for passion and putting the hours in and really driving forward. And as soon as we started to understand that, it became obvious very quickly.
Right. All right. Thanks for that. For me, it's really, and McDonald's always comes up. It's a common theme, and I think, obviously they are must be the most recognized franchise brand out there. And I wanted to switch a little bit and ask, you've been involved in franchising and as a business owner for a while now, and you've obviously become a franchise professional. You can definitely call yourself that after 10, 11 years doing what you're doing. But what are the biggest difficulties that you've faced, either personally or as a company, during that time?
So that is an easy one. We have been incredibly lucky to have Vicky and I an amazing relationship. Both have the same risk level and work ethic and have worked really well. And then in May 22, Vicky got diagnosed with brain cancer. And so that really turned everything upside down. Our network, it affected our network. It hugely affected our support team, our head office team. We're an incredibly tight-knit bunch. But I guess with everything, you learn a lot about people, and we had some long-serving franchisees that immediately stepped up to help with ongoing mentoring, because we had an immediate resource issue as Vicky went through treatment. And sadly, in April this year, Vicky died. So it has been an utter change to our business. It shows the resilience of people. It shows the support of people. It shows you can get through even the worst days when you don't think you can, and you're sort of questioning everything. We have got through that time stronger as a business because of what everybody in the network has been through. But yeah, it's a bit of an unusual one. I'm not imagining many people have that answer, but for us, it has been, relatively recent. But yeah, massive impact for our whole business and very much personally.
No, I can see that. That must be incredibly difficult, Caroline. And yeah, there's a lot of people involved in that, and dealing with that. And great legacy, I guess, for Vicky.
Amazing legacy, and to be able to say, for the family to see the legacy, and actually knowing, we did have time to talk, and knowing that you know, because there's always guilt with anything like this, whether it's personal or business. Do you carry on, and all these sorts of things? And absolutely, the business can carry on, will carry on, and will always be part of what Vicky and I created together, and that will never change. So yes, it'll be a positive future, and the family will look at that as a positive thing, which is great.
Yeah. Oh, well, thanks for sharing that, Caroline. Can't be easy to talk about these kinds of things, I don't think so. As a franchise brand, and you've been through these tough times, what does success really mean to you? How do you view success? What does that mean?
Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Success is, for us, I guess, happiness, satisfaction. We're fortunate enough, we do the WorkBuzz franchise satisfaction each year, the survey, and we've gained that for 7 years. So I think success for us was always, knowing that franchisees are satisfied with the business, because that's what's happening inside, not just what we're telling people is happening, but also in a growing network. So bringing in new people to the network, new resource, and really, really good positive people, but also seeing franchisees increase their turnover. In the end, we're a business, and see our turnover grow and their turnover grow is success. And seeing it as a result of what we've been doing is, for me, very personal success. It's saying we have taken these actions, we've looked at why certain things work in our business, which is the absolute, to me, benefit of franchising. We can see what's working in all these different people and say, well, if it's working there, how can we now make that work throughout the network and make other people more successful, earn more, freer? We have a great work-life balance in Pink Spaghetti. We all work flexibly at home, so that's really important to us. If something's working, replicating that throughout the business, and seeing that help franchisees, to me, is absolute success.
Right, thank you. In terms of challenges business-wise that you've faced as a franchise business, so if we take that period in the last 10, 11 years, which would you say are the biggest hurdles or challenges you have come up against, and where you might have done something differently if you had your time again?
I think the biggest challenge we continue to face, less so now, but have faced, is people. I think the biggest surprise for us in franchising is people. So we've got some amazing people in the network, but not everybody wants the same thing out of the business. Not everybody has the same work ethic, positive attitude, resilience, and seeing people flawed at very small things, and sort of unable to run a business, or negativity, I think, has been a massive learning curve for us. And the thing we found most difficult right throughout our certainly early days, if not, even in up to the last couple of years, very, very difficult. However, you can learn from each one of these. And like I said, we had a couple of franchisees right in the early days that they weren't wrong. There was nothing wrong with them as people. They weren't right for our business, and help identify every stage that we've had. You think, right, okay, what do we learn from that? How do we change? Is it the wording we change? Is it our recruitment policies and things to bring people in? And so we've taken them and turned them around as positives. But I think, you just imagine that everybody has got the same values and the same work ethics as you and the people around you. And it's always a surprise when you find they haven't.
Yeah, I think that's the same in almost any franchise. It's the people side, isn't it? It's finding the right people and then supporting them and making sure that they have the right people around them as well.
Absolutely.
And so the last thing I wanted to talk about, Caroline, was, I'm going to change my hats, and I'm going to put on a potential customer hat on, okay? Because I'm interested genuinely. I'm one of the directors and owners at the Franchising Centre. I have responsibilities for driving the business forward, growing the business, adding things to what we do as a consultancy, both in the UK and internationally. And I'm just getting busier and busier. But I have a young family. I've got a 10-year-old and 8-year-old. and my wife works with me in the business as well. And the one thing that I have always sworn that will never happen is that my work life will just create a massive imbalance with my personal life and stop me spending time with the kids and my wife and family, things like that. And so what you guys offer is very, very interesting to me, personally and for the business. So I wanted to ask, again, treat me like a potential customer, because I am. What are my next steps to understand more about how someone at Pink Spaghetti or from Pink Spaghetti could start to figure out how they could help me? Because that's what I don't know.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's we find the biggest competitor in our business is not actually a competitor. It's the fact that either people don't know they can do this, or they don't know how to. So, they don't know people like us exist, and then they don't know how to delegate and outsource. We deal with a lot of very entrepreneurial, brilliant business owners, but that brings with that, usually they're control freaks. They think they're the only people that can do all of these things. And what we'd say is, for a start, no obligation call, talk through, well, what do you love doing? What do you hate doing? What are you really good at? So if you're really good at certain aspects and you can spend more time doing those aspects of your business will expand. And if there are things every single day or week that you have to do that are stopping you creating this bucket of time to take your business forward, they are usually the things that can be outsourced. We have different ways, people work in different ways, but there's so much software around that allows you to screen record things, which means we can train easily, or we can just do a call and ask you questions. 80% of what businesses do is pretty similar throughout whatever type of business, from your business to a florist to an osteopath. The basic, the bookkeeping, the marketing, the CRMs, they might be on different platforms, but they're relatively similar. The social media side. So it's gaining confidence. You need to gain confidence that somebody is listening to you, can absolutely understand, not seeing you as a failure because you can't fit it all in, but seeing it as a really positive thing. By delegating things, it is just allowing you to grow your business. And what is on your to-do list, what the things you don't like doing, will be very different to a different business owner. But get rid of those first, or the things you think, right, well, I'm procrastinating looking at that because I'm just not quite sure how to address it. We're great at research. And I think, really importantly, people usually are worried about costs. For us, we're fast and efficient. So people are really good at what they do. So they do it a lot. They're better at it. But B, we'll just work to a budget. Somebody might say, look, I've only got a budget of £50 a month. And somebody else might say, I've got a budget of £1,500 a month. That doesn't matter. They're both important, and that budget will be stuck to. And that's really important. It's as much about keeping that business owner in control, not just taking things away from them.
Thanks, Caroline. Well, you've got me pretty excited to talk more about that, but we'll pick up on that after this, because I definitely want to explore that further. But for now, Caroline, I just want to say thanks so much for coming on today, and
thank you for having me,
and also for sharing, obviously deeply personal experiences, and it's all part of life and business, I guess. And
sadly,
we all have these moments, sadly, as well.
Absolutely.
So I appreciate you talking about that so openly, and we will no doubt see you around in the world of franchising.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Caroline. Bye.